The first several years of my career, I was doing integrated marketing with a role with many hats, doing direct mail, internet, web, email, conference planning, brand promotions with a couple different companies. And then about 9 years ago, I started with Discover Card and was able to start with a more focused email role. And then worked with them for about 4.5 years, and now I'm with Redbox. I've been at Redbox for about 5.5 years, focusing majority on email strategy and execution. So a little bit about Redbox. I'm sure many of you are familiar with our company and our brand, but we are the big red box you see at your local 7-Eleven, Walmart, Jewel, Albertsons stores. And we rent movies and games. I mean, that's pretty much what we do. It's just movies and games. But we rent out new release DVDs, Blu-rays, and also new release video games. We've got a little over 35,000 locations across the United States. Just a little fun fact about Redbox: 68% of people live within 5 minutes of a Redbox. So we have a lot of boxes out there around the country. And just to show this kind of the scale of the business. To date, we've rented just over 4 billion discs. So that's a lot of movies being rented. I'm going to tell you a little bit about our email program as it stands today, and then kind of tell you about the email journeys that we built out based on the challenges that we were having as kind of our business. So our email safe list is just over 40 million subscribers, which is pretty big. We've had a lot of growth over the last 5 years. When I started 5 years ago, we were at about 10 million, so you can see that growth trajectory has really gone high. We have a lot of different emails that we send in our campaign. So this is kind of a quick laundry list of our promotional emails that we have in our program. But to start off the new customers, we have a confirmed opt-in, COI. So we have a double opt-in with our program. We found that we have a lot of problems since a majority of our email address collection comes from our kiosks. People tend to fat finger their addresses, and we want to make sure that we're confirming that the address is correct before we start mailing, because we want to make sure that our deliverability stays strong. So once we get that confirmed, then we can send an email, welcome email to the customers with a promo code as the incentive for signing up for our list. Our major promotions during the week are the Tuesday new release. So in the movie industry, if you're aware, new movies are released on disc on Tuesdays. Most discs are, or most titles are. So there are some Friday releases for some special titles, but we send a big email out on that day to a majority of our list, just telling people what's new at the box. We also have coming soon reminders. So if you're on our website and you want to be reminded when a specific title is going to be released, you can set up that reminder. We'll send you that email instead of the Tuesday new release, telling you that your title is ready. Friday, again, we know movies are popular on the weekend. That's what people like to do. So we have a big campaign that goes out on Friday that really just kind of is a combination of the best in the box content and highlighting the new movies that may have been released that week, but also offering up recommendations for you based on your past customer behavior. So we want to make sure that we're presenting the right content for you. We have an abandoned cart program that we have on our website. So if you're browsing the website and you abandon a title, just like any kind of abandoned cart program, we're going to send you an email within an hour of you abandoning and try to get you back with just a win back of, hey, don't forget to rent your movie tonight. And then we also have a touch too that if you don't rent within 48 hours, we're going to send you another touch. Those campaigns do very well for us, so we like to see those results. We do have occasional bonus offers. If you're on our email list, you'll see from time to time we'll send out emails with additional offers on kind of alternate days of the week to try to drive people to the box. And then our customer journeys, which I'm going to get more in depth today with you about. We can talk about those. We also have our loyalty program, which is for every 10 points, or for every 10 points you, for every disc rented, you earn 10 points. For every 100 points, you get a free rental credit. So we're trying to get people educated more about that program as it's fairly new. And then retailer and CPG programs. So we partner with companies like Jolly Time Popcorn, Chex Mix, General Mills, and we work together to promote each other's brands. So we might have a promo banner in our email talking about if you go to your local grocery store, you might see your Chex Mix package with a code inside. Or if you're at Walgreens and you rent, or if you buy 2 Pepsis, you're going to get a code for a free Redbox movie. So we work a lot with those, and we promote those within our program. So some opportunities. So we have a lot going on with our program. It's a pretty robust program, but when we're looking at our business, we're trying to figure out what do customers maybe not know about us. And one of the biggest things that we found is that Redbox is a website. Not very many people know that you can go to redbox.com and look for movies, look for games, watch movie trailers, see what the biggest deals are. You can see what is going on and what's happening. So you can reserve online. That's another big thing. If you wanted to go and pick up a movie later, you don't have to wait until you drive to the box. You can actually reserve it online and be able to have the disc waiting for you. So that's something that we feel like people really need to know about to enhance their experience with our brand. Text Club. Everyone signs up for text clubs. You get deals and offers. Redbox has a text club. You can sign up for and get new release movies alerted to you, as well as different promotions throughout the week or the month. Rent and return anywhere. Well, that's another big feature we have. People love Redbox on road trips. You could rent a movie in New York and you could return it in California with no additional rental fees. So it's a great feature with our brand that a lot of people still don't know about. We have video games. So video games is also a growing business for us, and a lot of people don't know about it. We really want people to be able to try before they buy. Before they go and spend $60 or $70 on a new game, they can rent it from Redbox for $3 a night and be able to tell and play it and see if they really like it. And then, as I mentioned earlier, Redbox Play Pass, which is our loyalty program, earns you free rentals. If you love Redbox and you love renting movies, why not sign up? It's free. You sign up, and every time you rent, you earn 10 points for your rental. So we were trying to figure out how do we take these problems and turn them into a solution and figure out how do we enhance our program. So when we partnered with the Salesforce Marketing Cloud, they have a product called Journey Builder, and that is something that kind of got us thinking, how do we take these things that we're trying to talk to people about and build these customer journeys, if you will, to inform them about things that they could learn about to better enhance their experience with our brand. So in this presentation, I'm really going to kind of take you behind the scenes on how we approached our problem and the steps that we took to build these journeys out. Many of you may have seen presentations where people have success stories, and they said, yeah, we did all these great things, and here was our success. But they don't really give you kind of the meat and potatoes on how they actually did it. So that's what I'm hoping to do here, is to give you ideas that you can bring back to your own business and apply within your own marketing program. So first, we had kind of 3 main stages when we were thinking about this: planning, design, and measurement. So the planning was, defining the focus of what we wanted to talk about and figuring out the team members. And then design is really scoping out the design of what the journeys would look like, and then the look and feel of the actual email creative. And then finally, how do we measure it? How do we know that we are successful? What goals do we have? So I'm going to step you through each of these stages and kind of give you a timeline, too, to understand how long it took us. So planning. So we went in it with the objective to engage our customers. We wanted to be personalized and send messages in a timely way through based on their customer behavior. And then we wanted to look at all the different customers that we have. So we have new customers that are very new with the brand. We have active customers that have been renting with us for a while but might not be using us to their full potential. And then we have lapsed customers, so people that were at one time renting but now have not been engaging with us as much. So we got in a room with a bunch of people and tried to figure out, what are we going to talk about? What are the main things that we feel are going to drive our business? So the 5 that we ended up focusing on was the new customer experience. So new customers obviously are very important to us. We need to help them understand the brand and give them everything they need to know about us so they can continue to have a good experience. Online reservation conversion. So being online is something that's very important. People don't know that you can necessarily be or engage with Redbox on the website or on the mobile app. So we wanted people to understand that. Plus we know people that engage online tend to be better customers for us. So we want to make sure that they know all about that. Mobile engagement, as I mentioned earlier, we have a mobile app and we also have a text club. So getting people, everyone is on their phone all the time. and we want to make sure that we can have a part of that space and have people engage with us in that way. And then games, again, games is a big part of our business now. We're really trying to get that awareness out there and have customers understand the try before you buy mentality of using us to make their buying decisions. So we want to make sure that we can educate customers about games. And then finally, and most importantly to a lot of brands, is reactivation. So what happens when your people go away? They stop renting. What do? You need to have a campaign in place that can reactivate these customers, or at least engage with them before they are lapsed for too long. So overall, we started this process probably about this time last year, and it took about a month between all of the different meetings and schedules and holidays, getting everyone in a room to try to figure out how we were going to approach this and what things we were going to focus on. So then it's the team. So who is going to be involved in building these journeys? We had to really figure out to make sure up front that we had the right people in the room at all of our meetings. So email marketing, so my team was obviously heavily involved because this was focused on email. Our CRM partners, which are also very important to us, they know the databases, they know the fields that we have, they know the setup of the background, they pull all of our email lists. So they were very important to the process and understanding how we were going to have the technology behind what we were going to build and how we were going to build these triggers out. And then our analytics partners. So we talked about measurements. We want to make sure that we're setting up the campaigns in a way that we can understand how we have been successful. And if we haven't been, what are the triggers that we need to improve on, and what do we maybe need to evolve and change? And then finally, the creative. So that's kind of the end product that the customer sees. So we want to make sure that they, have a good experience and engage in creative so that they're going to engage with the program. One thing I didn't mention on here is also technology, and I think, Joseph, you were talking about it earlier, is that the technology partners are very important to leading these marketing promotions. So we have, all the nuts and bolts and APIs and all these things that behind the scenes that make all this happen, that it's really important to pull these partners in as well. So we have a lot of different areas of the business that helped us build these out. So then it's taking it to the whiteboard. And please don't judge me on my writing skills, but these are actual snapshots from some of the sessions that we did. And basically what we did is we had about 10 people in the room from all those different areas that I mentioned, and we just started talking one at a time on each of the journeys. And I just, we got up on the whiteboard and we started scoping it out. Like, what is this journey going to look like? What are the topics that we want the customers to understand specific to the journey that we were talking about? And we were just brainstorming all sorts of different ideas. And then we started thinking through the day of the week, like what's the best day of week that we think we should be talking to people? I told you our biggest mailings go out on Tuesday and Friday, so we don't want to overtake those 2 days because those are big rental days. But if we have something to talk to customers about that might not be as rental focused, we might pick a different day of the week, like a Monday or a Wednesday, to talk to customers about things that wouldn't divert their rental path. And then time of day, that's another important one. A lot of times we'll send our emails out in the morning because we want to make sure if there's an offer included or if there might be a low availability at the box for a new title. We send it early enough so people have time to make those reservations or get to the box and reserve. But on these other things that are maybe just be more educational, we thought maybe we would send them later in the day, like maybe 6 o'clock at night or 7 or 5, something that would be later where maybe people weren't as engaged in wanting to rent, but surfing through their email, they could click on it, and then we could just educate them while they're doing their evening kind of cool down after work. Incentives. So again, if you're a part of our program, you see we send a lot of promo codes. That's kind of a big part of our business, is getting people to the box and understanding what do we really need to give someone to get them to engage. There might be a group of people that don't need any kind of incentive, and they, $1.50, great movie, sign me up. But there might be other people that need a little bit more of a nudge, or people that have reactivated or have gone lapsed that we need to reactivate. We need to give them a little bit more incentive. So we talk through in all of the different journeys, how are we going to incent people, or do we need to incent people? So that was just a big part of the discussions we had, and kind of figuring out where that all fell in the scope of the different journeys. And then talking creative execution, So in a lot of these boxes that you see in the diagram, it's really just a blurb about what we're going to talk about. So we could take that after all these were scoped out. I took back all of this information, had to put creative briefs together for our creative team to help them understand what we were trying to talk to our customers about, and then they could take the notes from the brief and turn those into email creatives, which I'll show you in a few minutes. And then what spurred us to put these journeys together was the Journey Builder tool. So we went into this thinking that the Salesforce Marketing Cloud would be handling all of these journeys. They'd trigger out all of these messages, but then we also found out that we could control the triggers as well. So we had some questions about, which way would we execute. And for the whiteboarding exercises, I would say it took us about a month to get through. Again, this was kind of around the holidays, first of the year, with all the schedules, getting everyone in a room together. For the 5 different journeys, it took us about a month to get everything sort of scoped out in the way that we wanted to. One of the biggest discussions and the builds that happened was actually getting the programs built here. And we talked through Automation Studio, which is a tool within the Marketing Cloud that allows us as Redbox to send files to their system, and then they trigger off based on our audience file, or using their Journey Builder tool, which we would set a number of different rules in place, and they would query our customer data within their platform, and they would trigger the messages out on a timed schedule. Now, one of the things we wanted to do was also test this. So this was new for our team. This was a big, huge advancement that we had made in our program. So our CRM team really wanted to understand how they could help here, and they wanted to try getting our campaigns out as well. So what we did is we decided to do one of our campaigns, our new customer journey, internally, and the CRM team built that within Automation Studio. And then because of the timing that we wanted to get all these launched, we had the Salesforce Marketing Cloud team build the other 4 within Journey Builder. So we're understanding sort of the ebb and flow of each of the setups, but ultimately I feel like it was a good idea to do it this way, and we can control the customer journey that way. And ultimately we may want to take more internal plays on this and have other journeys built within our CRM team. But at this point, we've got one of them with the Automation Studio and the other 4 within Journey Builder. So this is a diagram of what the new customer journey looks like. And I just included this to kind of get a visual of taking that whiteboard and then flowing it through and really helping you understand like how you get all the different team members to understand what happens, thinking through the decision points of the data elements that you need to trigger these journeys. Now this journey takes about 6 weeks for a customer to get through. So from the first time we get their email address till we get we send them messages once a week on Mondays until they get through the end, is about 6 weeks. And we have a couple different decision points where we might send alternate creatives in here based on their behavior, but most of them will just flow through and get all of the same messages. Now, adverse to that, we also have our mobile journey that we built out. Now, this one, as you can see, is a lot shorter. Depending on how mobile engaged someone is with our brand, they may only take 3 to 5 days to go through this journey. They might only receive one of the messages and then exit. So your journey doesn't necessarily have to be this long series of messages, so you don't want to overwhelm yourself thinking that I have to think of 5 to 6 or 7 different messages to send someone. You could have a journey that you build that's 2 or 3 messages. Are they doing it? Are they not? If they are, then maybe you send them down one path. If they're not, then you give them a couple nudges down another path. So that was just an example of that. Then on to creative. So this is the fun part. So this is the actual creative that we had designed for our new customer journey. So you can see how it evolved from going to concept of, yep, we need to talk to our new customers about the brand, to whiteboarding exactly what we want to talk to them about, and then ultimately getting it to be visualized in a creative way. So this steps people through all of the different things that we feel like are important that we want customers to know about. So renting and return anywhere, we visualize that with the map. engaging online, creating your account, making sure your disc is there when you want to pick it up, joining the text club. So this brings forward, you get the mobile phone and all of the icons at the top of the creative. We have a Redbox 101, so there's like a consistent look and feel throughout the messages. We have our wish list program, we have our rate and review, and then we have our Blu-ray and games. So we've got a very consistent path that we're sending the customer down to make sure that they understand all of the things that they need to engage with our brand. So as a part of the project, and I just included this because I think it's important to understand some of the other levels of things that had to go on during this process outside of what our team was driving. This is what the project plan looked like at one point that the Marketing Cloud team put together for us. So this is all kind of the different steps that they needed to take internally with technology and workflows so that we could execute all of our journeys within a reasonable time. So we had our flows approved, we had to get our creatives approved, and then we had to have a number of test cases developed. So the Marketing Cloud team went through and helped us with this because this was a lot of detail that we had to think through. So looking at our journeys, we had to make decision points. So with our mobile journey, we had to say, for example, if someone was already in the text club, when they were selected, then they would go down, one path. If they weren't on the text club, then they would get this path. Then what would happen if they didn't sign up? Then they were supposed to get the second message. So it's really flowing out all of the specific test cases that could happen with all the different customer behaviors. And we ended up with probably 7 to 10 different scenarios for each journey that we had to make sure that we tested through to make sure that the journey was working correctly. So we had to work through all those. Then the build. So that's going to take some time. The total build, once we got everything flowed out, was probably about 4 months, and that was total building out all 4 of those journeys. And then testing them. So we had some sample data. All of us on the team provided email addresses. We ended up mocking up some files so that some of us would look a little different. Some of us would have rented a game or not rented a game. Some of us have engaged online and not. And then we made sure that the email triggers would flow correctly with the appropriate behaviors. And then it was to Arch. So they tested it, we tested it, and then it was to final approval. So again, that took a little over 4 months to get all of that developed. So measurement. So that's really important. So we wanted to figure out and talk to our analytics partners about how we were going to make sure that we were successful. So a lot of times we do a lot of testing with our programs. We have a very integrated marketing calendar and test plan, so we're always testing things. So we wanted to make sure that we started a little kind of small because we didn't want to go too big with this at first. We weren't sure how customers were going to react. So we ended up putting a 50-50 mail versus no mail control in place, and we mailed customers for 4 weeks. So basically we started with our new customer journey and injected new customers in every week for 4 weeks. So we ended up running it for about 12 weeks total till the last group ended their 6 weeks. And because it was such a small audience, we did a 50-50 split because we wanted to make sure that there was enough audience to measure on both sides. And then we had to figure out what are the main KPIs, the key performance indicators that we wanted to measure. So rents and revenue are very important to our business, obviously, as that is what we do. We rent movies and games. We want to make sure that people are renting and we're also maximizing our revenue. Play Pass enrollment. So our loyalty program is very important, so we wanted to look and make sure that the messages that we were sending were encouraging that loyalty enrollment. Online reservation, we've talked about that as well. Are people engaging with us online based on the no mail control, people that are actually seeing the mail creative, are they creating profiles online? Are they reserving online? Are they downloading the mobile app? Are they engaging with us through the mobile app? And the text club, that's another easy one that we can measure, is our text club enrollment increasing with these messages. And finally, Blu-ray and games. So we talk about movies so much, but we also, again, we want to tell people that we do have Blu-ray. A lot of people like that better quality of disc. And then games. So we want to make sure that we're maximizing our game rentals as well. So the big results slide. So we were very happy with how the results of these journeys came out, and we're still continuing to test these and haven't fully rolled out 100% of all of them, but we've seen, I think our biggest win was that we got 5 custom email journeys built within 6 months. We kept a very fluid process in building them, and with our Salesforce team, they were able to help us keep us on track and keep everything going, so we were able to launch an appropriate timing. We saw a 54% lift in our open rates among new customers, which was huge. Based on this was kind of measured against our Tuesday and Friday emails, so people were really engaging with us, and I really enjoyed seeing these messages. We saw a pretty big lift in online engagement, and also saw some lift in our loyalty program signups. As I said, we were trying to educate people about our loyalty program because it's still very new. So seeing a 3% increase in signups was huge for us. Overall, the increased awareness of mobile and games was relevant based on some of the numbers that we saw, and we continue to look at those journeys and see how we can affect those numbers. So then what's next? So we've got these 5 journeys out there, and now we need to figure out what are we going to do now? Like I said, we have a very robust test plan here, and we're always thinking about new things. What's going to be new? But testing is key in a marketing program, and learning and enhancing and progressing. So subject line testing, we're going to look at our journeys and see how the metrics are looking just at the open rate level, and what can we do to enhance that measurement. So putting in different subject lines and seeing what hits. Time of day and day of week. So we just took a shot in the dark at what day and week we should be mailing these journeys. Many of them go out on Monday. Is that really the right day? Maybe people want to see these more in the middle of the week. Maybe they would rather see them on the weekend. So we need to figure out how we can just keep enhancing the testing that we're doing. Audience testing. So we're beyond the new customer group. We have our active audiences, and we want to kind of understand where the pockets of people are within our audience base that may also benefit from some of these messages. So we need to work through those. Offer testing, as I mentioned earlier, the incentives. So we put some incentives in some of the journeys. Are people redeeming those promo codes? Is the offer enticing? Do we maybe try an offer versus a no offer creative, and would we get the same result without an offer? So that's important for us to understand. Creative testing, we love creatives. As you see this animation here, we love animation. Animation works really well with our brand. We have a very fun brand. We want to include those different elements where we can. It just helps engage people even more. So, and another thing, we've got our main 5, we've been thinking about now, kind of again, what's next? So we're looking at different journeys that we can build out to help our customers. So existing customers, how do we take, maybe it's the new customer journey that's altered for customers that are existing that still may not know about some of these things. So we're looking at focusing on that. PlayPass, which is our loyalty program. Let's get people to understand that we have a loyalty program, and that will increase their frequency to our brand. That loyalty programs are very important. People love engaging. People love getting stuff free. So if you can incent them in any way to keep them coming back to your brand, we want to make sure that they know about it. And then finally, customer service. So how do we, if unfortunately someone has a bad experience with the brand and they call customer service and they had a scratch disk or something came back bad, and we don't want them to go away. We want to trigger on that. So I've been having conversations with our customer service team to see how we can move the needle in that way and make sure that we keep that conversation going once they've maybe not had a great experience with us, and win them back and keep them renting. So that's pretty much what I had for my presentation. So I think right now I'd like to open it up to questions.
Yeah, hey, so Jennifer, thank you for doing that. That's really, really cool stuff. I know you think the 1 month that was a long time. I'll tell you from the last vertical I worked at, getting something done in 1 month is like lightning speed. So
right,
that's pretty awesome. What was the how was this different than sort of what you guys did before you started on the Journey Builder product with Salesforce? Was it a really different process? Did the technology or the way that you went about doing this for customer journeys sort of change the process, make you more efficient? What was old versus new when you were going through this example?
Yeah, well, we never had customer journeys before this, so everything that we sent out was really ad hoc. We did have a welcome series a while back that we had mailed, and then we stopped it because we wanted to enhance it with the customer journeys. But yeah, everything was really just, we had a calendar and we scheduled them out. And if we wanted to talk about online, we'd schedule a one-time mailing, but then nothing really happened with it. So the ability to get the technology that does these automated triggers kind of takes us out of it and lets the technology do the heavy lifting for us so that we don't have to think about it. So the reactivation journey is one that I didn't really talk about, but we have data files that show when people rented last. Once somebody hits that 90 days of no rental, we're triggering off a message to say, hey, where'd you go? Why don't you come back? And instead of us having to have that campaign in place.
Yeah, and I think that idea of the reactivation, I mean, even if you think of the different verticals that are out there for things like renewals and so on, my thought there when I hear that is you could probably leverage, whichever company's products you use. I don't think that matters, but I think this idea of being able to leverage that sort of technology to trigger things like renewals or, hey, we see you haven't come back, or why don't you re-sign up with us, and here's the stuff that we can do to you. It sounds like you could leverage that same technology either with Salesforce or someone else, regardless of the vertical that you're in. So that's that's pretty interesting to me. That one screen that you had where you had the grid where you were showing sort of, it looked a little bit like Microsoft Project where you've got the layouts from a timeline perspective. If you were to think of sort of all the things that you did to get this thing up off the ground, what was the single biggest challenge that you guys faced when you went about doing this? All the way, if you take it all the way from the start to when you actually went live, what was the single piece there that was the most complicated for you guys to execute on?
It was the hiccup that we found. So we were all ready to launch, and then we found out that there was an issue, not an issue, but a disconnect between the feedback files that Salesforce was sending us back with open and click data that we were basing our triggers on, that didn't mesh with our internal database. So we had to do sort of an overhaul because it was something that we didn't think about up front, and it was like one of the naming structure of the campaign ID that was sent back to us. We had to then change some internal systems in order to, take in that information in a way that they were sending it to us based on the different dates. So I think it's really just little technology things that you don't think about. Sometimes the front end stuff is easy, thinking about it, creating the email assets, but it's actually that technology and that full circle loop of the feedback files and going into the different databases and allowing you to kind of pull in those triggers. That was probably the hardest thing that we came across.
Yeah, and you guys have, I mean, you've seen obviously email programs in different companies. I mean, Redbox has a pretty sophisticated sort of process that you go through all of this. I mean, just thinking about the stuff that I've heard you talk about in the past and present on the past and now as well, you just do a lot of really cool stuff that many big companies would sort of give their right arms to be able to do. So it's some of those small technology things that even a company like yours with as many talented people as you've got on your various teams and your vendors, it's the small stuff that can sometimes trip you up. How did you end up with 5? What was the thinking of, yeah, we're just going to do 5 of these journeys? Why not like 2 or 3 or like 9? I mean, how did you end up with 5?
Well, when we actually had an engagement with the Salesforce Marketing Cloud, so we moved our marketing program from a different email vendor over to the Marketing Cloud last year, and within that that new engagement, we were given that number of journeys, like kind of within the contract. So that's sort of where we settled on that.
Okay, so that's a good way to end up on that number. And you said you are thinking about how you would build out more of these. I mean, based off of the results, it looks like it's been pretty successful. Right?
It has, yeah. And I think that we were limited at 5 or 6 or so when we first started because that was the timing. But now thinking about it, as we're continuing to enhance, there's still a lot of stuff. We had a spreadsheet that probably had 30 or 40 different think topics on it that we wanted to talk about. So there's always things that we can evolve on, and my CRM team is going to be be driving them crazy as I come up with these ideas. But
sure.
I think that there's still a lot of opportunities for us.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that makes sense. And having a platform, obviously, that can manage that and can handle that is obviously important. Getting back to sort of the marketing technology piece of it, I think the broader point there is you need to make sure that you're migrating or you're leveraging technology platforms that can, in fact, expand based off of the needs of the business partner changing. With Redbox wanting to do more, you need a platform that can manage all of that. I know mobile is sort of a big deal for you guys. Is there the program management aspects of it when you're sort of managing these journeys? Is the mobile piece just a thing that you say, okay, that's going to mobile versus the desktop experience, or did you have to sort of build out separate things for the mobile piece of it?
No, we didn't optimize. We didn't you're talking about responsive design and responsive for mobile.
Yeah.
Is that what you're thinking about? Yeah, we didn't. We did not create like the mobile responsive creative, but we did take mobile into account when we were developing our creative. So we do know that about 75% of our email open on a mobile device.
Oh, wow.
So we wanted to be very sensitive to that. So it's really just looking at, we've done responsive testing in the past and was fairly flat in terms of results. So I think that the engaging box art and some of the things that we have on our creatives, they're not overwhelmed with content, help us. So, I mean, it was in the back of our mind, but we didn't optimize the creative in a technology way for it.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. That open rate too, I guess that makes a lot of sense considering the overall numbers that you see from ComScore and stuff, but clearly there's a big part of your audience that's leveraging mobile devices. So a couple more questions here. So, sort of broader email questions. When you're thinking about effective tactics, the stuff that you've done at Redbox and in your past as well, can you think of, if you were to sort of give, a lot of people are going to listen to the recording of this, if you can think about, what are effective tactics that you can do in email that will drive engagement, that will drive the results? Can you think of one or two of them that seem to be more effective than others in all the work that you've gone through and done?
Yeah, I think animation is a big one. So animation fits really well with our brand because we show snippets of trailers in the creative. The technology today, you can't put video and sound into an email yet. There are some vendors that allow you to embed with certain email clients, but for the most part you can't, so you have to use animated GIFs. But we have seen a lot of lifts in order to, add engagement. So I think animation was huge. I've also seen a lot of other brands do it. So it's not necessarily just clips or videos, but different colors, different catalog types. I've seen Bath and Body Works does it really well, where they have all their soaps and their lotions, and they scan through it when they have a big, huge catalog of products to be able to show a lot in a small amount of time. So the animation has been really big for us. And then I think even just subject lines and subject line testing and glyphs in the subject line, that really, you don't want to over glyph. So you see some of those brands out there, you see a lot of airplanes and you see a lot of arrows and stars, but it is effective for people to catch their eye in there. I mean, the inbox is something that is some very valuable real estate, and we all get so many emails every day. How do you get your email to stand out for at least someone to read your subject line? And we try to incorporate glyphs maybe once a month or so, just to try to boost it up. Like I said, people will stop seeing it if you keep doing it over and over, but I'd say that's something that we've had a lot of fun with.
Yeah, the animation, so I'll tell you that completely caught me off guard because I wasn't expecting you to say animation, so I'm glad you did. I was just reading this thing yesterday about sort of how these animated GIFs, which has of course been around since I think the 80s or at least the 90s, but how it sort of come back in a big way. These really small clips of, I was looking at one of these movie clips and they were actually showing this animation piece, and so that just the engagement on these things is so much more than it has been in the past. And then they were talking about, sharing them in chat and, being able to leverage it from a viral perspective in more than just the traditional sorts of ways that we do this, Facebook Messenger and IMs and all of that kind of stuff. So that makes a lot of sense when I hear you talk about that. And a subject like testing, I feel like that's just sort of like a base standard, right? If you're going to do emails, you've got to make sure that you do that. And I don't, having been involved with a couple different programs after some of the companies I've worked with, it's surprising how many people still don't do this, right, or take it seriously. And you guys obviously have done a pretty good job with that. Final question for you before we shift off to the next presentation. I've had this conversation with a bunch of different people, which is, how do I get into this, right? So in your case, it's obviously the email space, but it is a broader question for people that recognize that marketing and technology are merging together. It is something that they're interested in doing. How did you get your start within this email, and what's your advice on people that are trying to get into specifically the sort of communication space? What's the best way for them to be able to do that?
I think having an overall understanding of marketing in general. So I think since I've been in marketing, the landscape has really shifted a lot. So it might be harder or a little bit different now for people just getting into digital. But when I started, it was more direct mail, conferences, those type of things, where then I slowly kind of discovered what email was, the email marketing, and then so I had that very large role, and then it sort of gotten shifted down to a very focused role, and I really enjoyed the email part of it and found my job within Discover that was the first role I had that was really targeted into email. I think it's just understanding the digital landscape these days and how email plays a role. So we've got, the website, we've got mobile, we've got email, we've got SEO and SEM. How do all those different channels work together, and just understanding how to connect them and help them kind of work together to that same goal. So I think that's really just education and personal experience too, and how you as a consumer engage yourself with different brands in different ways, I think can really help you understand how those channels work.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think if you see stuff that works for you, and while you don't want to transpose too much of that stuff to the general population, there's probably a pretty good chance that it's going to work for tens of thousands of people as well. The one of the questions I had here that I scratched off when you were talking, because you already brought it up, was around sort of this idea of working with other teams, right? I think in the past you've thought of email as just sort of its own little thing, and then it's grown over the last so many years, and now it's really sort of, you're working with CRM teams, and you're working with with creative teams that are building your emails out, and then you're working with analytics teams on the data that comes back. It just feels like a very deeply sort of driven cross-departmental function now, rather than just email as a standalone. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, and that's how our team, we have a digital marketing team at Redbox that all of those different layers all report up into the same group. So we are all on the same team, if you will. There's just different different groups, but yeah, we sit within 3-4 feet of each other. So we're all collaborating throughout the day, so that helps too, because we've got that face-to-face. We're not in different wings of the building. Like, we're literally sitting right near each other, so we can bounce things off each other really quickly and understand what's going on. Yeah,
no, that's great. So thank you for presenting this. This is all really valuable. There's so much here to learn from a company like Redbox, and with the volumes of emails that you send out, there are clearly lessons for a lot of even the bigger companies to follow. So thanks a lot for doing this, and
thank you.
We will make sure to get your presentation out there.